Donald Trump had the worst Thanksgiving of his life as he rotted away in Florida. Look at his face. Look how angry he was. He couldn't contain the rage that he was feeling as his entire regime is collapsing. Folks, Donald Trump did not even send a single Thanksgiving message on Thanksgiving. Not even happy Thanksgiving. He made one post yesterday about a golfer who passed away in older age, but didn't say happy Thanksgiving or send any message. He hates Thanksgiving. He hates holidays because people are focused on other things other than him, and that enrages him as all he wants and craves is attention because he's a little petulant little baby. You know, he held this press conference later in the day yesterday when we tragically learned about how the National Guard's woman, 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom, again, member of the National Guard, passed away in connection with that horrific shooting in Washington, D.C. You know, and as we're learning more facts about the shooter, of course, and MeidasTouch was one of the first to report on this, the shooter was granted asylum by Donald Trump in April of this past year. And in terms of being vetted to come into the United States in the first place, back in 2021, this was someone who was vetted by the CIA and the DHS. This is somebody who was working in the Afghan Special Forces, someone who was working with the CIA for like a decade and then had no negatives on this individual's record, no any concepts that this person could potentially be involved in terroristic threats at all. So, you know, last night when there was this press conference that was held, one of the reporters made clear and just clarified, there was extensive vetting on this individual back in 2021, and there was nothing that showed up that was negative. It wasn't like this person was just let in. And also, you were the one who granted asylum in 2025. So what do you make of that, Donald? And then Donald turns to the reporter and says, "Stupid? You a stupid person? You're stupid." Here's what Donald Trump said to this female reporter. Play this clip.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration for what this man did?
Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here.
So in the past week, he's called this female reporter stupid. He called a New York Times reporter ugly on the inside and on the outside. Remember, he posted that message 2 days ago. And then he called the Bloomberg reporter piggy and said, quiet, piggy, and I was just reflecting at the Thanksgiving table last night with my 14-month-old daughter and with other women and young ladies at the table, just thinking about Donald Trump calling ladies piggies and you're ugly and shut up, you stupid person. I really don't care what your politics are here. This is just a bad, bad human being. Donald Trump was then asked by another reporter, didn't you grant this guy asylum? Like the vetting happened in 2021, but it seems like you didn't vet. You put all your counterterrorism resources into rounding up migrants who were working in factories and on farms and Home Depot parking lots as part of your immigration raids to terrorize communities. And you now appointed a 22-year-old guy, Thomas Fugate III, some former landscaper, like intern who was just like a Trump fan. And you made him the head of counterterrorism at the FBI and gutted all counterterrorism divisions. So what do you make of that? And then Donald Trump slams the table and then just walks out. Here, play this clip.
Very much, everybody.
Do you believe that
Afghans, this asylum claim that is being floated? Of course, you just detailed that this suspect was flown in under the Biden administration. Yeah. But was he granted asylum under your administration?
When it comes to asylum, when they're flown in, it's very hard to get them out. No matter how you want to do it, it's very hard to get them out. But we're going to be getting them all out now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, sir.
And then state regime media tried to, cover up for Donald Trump. So they brought on one of his surrogates, Nancy Mace, a MAGA Republican, and she goes, "None of this would have ever happened if Donald Trump was president. The shooting would not have taken place if Trump was president. What world are you people living in? Unfortunately, he is right now, and he's the one who granted this guy asylum like a few months back. Here, play this clip.
Well, two things. One, I do agree with Kash Patel on this. But number one, this would never have happened with President Trump in the Oval Office. Number two, President Trump is fixing the grave mistakes and travesties under the Biden administration. And I'm just honored that I'm in Congress to watch and witness what he's doing to save our country. We're going to be so much better off for it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Also, at this bizarre press conference, Donald Trump said, I know exactly what I'm going to have, turkey. I believe it's turkey. And just watch how he struggles to even say this sentence. Like, again, this is someone who's also kind of cognitively not there. Here, play this clip.
And then we go and have a great Thanksgiving, because I don't know about you. You probably had your dinner already, but I didn't. And I know exactly what I'm going to have. Turkey. Okay? I believe it's turkey.
Now, one of Donald Trump's main focus over the past few days, and we know it's been his main priority, tearing down the East Wing to build his Golden Ballroom. But he's now in a major fight with the architect. James McCreary II is the architect, and Donald Trump wants to keep making the Golden Ballroom bigger and more gold. And McCreary's like, everybody knows I'm the architect now, and it's just going to be incredibly ugly. So can we not make it even bigger than it already is? And they're feuding, and that's stalling right now the construction of this Golden Ballroom. But that's where Donald Trump's attention is too. His attention is also just doing whatever Putin and Xi Jinping want. So remember earlier in this week how I reported that Xi Jinping called Donald Trump? And remember, I told you exactly what I believe Xi Jinping told Donald Trump. And I said, he's calling Donald Trump up and saying Taiwan is ours. And you better call the new Prime Minister of Japan, Takaishi, and tell her to chill out and stop saying that she would protect Taiwan, Donald. If you want us to buy any soybeans, if you want us to release any rare earth elements, you got to make sure you can't even talk about Taiwan. You will not let the president of Taiwan land in U.S. airspace. You cannot say anything favorable to Taiwan. And we know a few months back when the president of Taiwan wanted to just land to refuel in the U.S., Donald Trump wouldn't let the president of Taiwan even do that. Remember back in the day when Trump and all these MAGA Republicans pretended we're tough on China and we're Taiwan, we support Taiwan, we're China hawks, and Democrats are weak on Taiwan. Remember when we heard all of that? They're all a bunch of frauds and phonies, these MAGAs, because they are allowing Xi Jinping to ram his knee right into their neck, and they're just taking it from Xi Jinping. So as I mentioned, because the United States has been so weak on Taiwan, Japan's new Prime Minister Takaishi had put out a statement saying Japan's going to protect Taiwan, to which Chinese diplomats then said, we will cut off your head, Takaishi. We will split open your head and we will cover your parliament in blood. That's what the Chinese diplomat said to Japan recently. And then Xi Jinping told Donald Trump, you need to tell Japan to lower the temperature, after the Chinese ministers told the Prime Minister of Japan, we're going to behead you and we're going to spread your blood all over Japan. And so Trump called up the Prime Minister of Takaishi and said, you need to calm down. Xi Jinping told me that you have to chill out. So once again, Donald Trump turning on another American ally, right? Just think about his weakness right here. Weakness in Ukraine, with Europe, attacking Canada, the way Donald Trump has mistreated Australia, and then you have the way Donald Trump's treating Japan. It's just utterly despicable. Also, there's no chance of any peace deal in Ukraine. Like, let's be clear. Obviously Donald Trump's a fraud and said on day one he's going to bring peace there, right? I mean, total liar. But today Putin gave a speech saying Russia will cease hostilities when Ukrainian troops leave the areas they are now occupying. And if they don't, we will make them. We are ready to fight to the last Ukrainian. In other words, Putin's admitting that he wants the genocide that he's committing right now in the area. As Jay and Kiev writes, never again ask yourself what you would have done during the time of Hitler. as you see what Donald Trump is doing right here, right now. And so, you have Putin's basically saying that Ukraine needs to leave their lands, which they control, Eastern Ukraine. Putin doesn't control this. Give up your lands. You can't join the European Union. You can't join NATO, and you can't have a standing army. And that's the only way that Putin says that there will ever be a peace deal. Otherwise, there'll never be a deal at all. He goes also that we'll never do a deal with Ukraine until they get rid of Zelensky. He will never talk with their current leadership. We always knew that was the case. Donald Trump was complicit in trying to force Ukraine to surrender with Putin's 28-point plan that we now know for a fact was a Russian plan given to Witkoff. We saw, right, Yuri Yushakov. We saw Dmitriev. Kirill Dmitriev. We saw Witkoff talking like, here's our plan. This is going to be the plan, right? They all coordinated what it was going to be, and they were going to force Ukraine to surrender. And that's what they tried to do. And Zelensky and the Europeans stood up against Donald Trump. And, it's also, we have to question too. And I know the Wall Street Journal wrote an article on this recently. You have Steve Witkoff's family and Donald Trump's family are part of this thing called World Liberty Financial. It's their crypto company that a lot of foreign countries are putting money into. And it's very opaque, very unclear who's giving money. We know the United Arab Emirates gave money. We know the guy who ran Binance, then he got a pardon after he was responsible for pleading guilty to money laundering for terrorist groups and trafficking groups, and Trump pardoned him. They really propped up this Trump-Witkoff family venture right here. Like we know the Pakistan government gave a lot of money to World Liberty Financial, and then their main military chief of staff got a meeting with Trump, which screwed up the United States relationship with India and Modi. So we have all of that, we have all of that taking place. But one of the thoughts is that Russia may be injecting money into this. Unclear. But through back channels is Russia. Again, I don't know, but there are some suggestions that through back channels, Russia may be putting money in. I don't know one way or the other, but, when you have opaque entities like that, it's difficult to know. Let's take a look right here as well. During Donald Trump's bizarre presser yesterday, this is what he said about he just started randomly attacking Somalians and saying the Somali people ruined Minnesota. And people are like, what does this have to do with the shooting in D.C.? He's like, I don't care. I just don't like Somalis. What? Here, play this clip.
What does Somalians have to do with this Afghan guy who shot the national?
Nothing, but Somalians have caused a lot of trouble. They're ripping us off for a lot of money. There's a tremendous amount of money going back to Somalia. What the hell are we paying money to Somalia for? But they're ripping off our country at a level that few people have been able to see before. Mm-hmm. That's about the only thing. You talk about competence. We have Ilhan Omar, who does nothing but complain about our country and our Constitution. And she comes from a country with practically no country. It's devastated. It's crime-ridden. It's a mess. It's a disgrace.
And Donald Trump posted that he's now refusing to invite South Africa when the G20 comes to the United States in 2026. Donald Trump is having the G20 at his golf course in Doral in Miami. And he said because South Africa, which hosted the G20, did not allow Trump to have like a random diplomat who was there receive the gavel in the public gavel passing ceremony to close out the G20. He goes, we will not let South Africa show up here to the G20 when the United States hosts it. So Donald Trump boycotted the G20 that just took place, that South Africa ran, because Trump lied and claimed that there was a white genocide taking place in South Africa. And just like a racist, deranged conspiracy against the leader of South Africa. And so Trump said, so Trump didn't show up to the G20. And then he wanted like a low-level diplomat to take the gavel. And it's just heads of state. It's just like presidents and prime ministers. So South Africa and the other country was like, no, like we'll pass you the gavel privately, but you're not going to send a low-level diplomat with the presidents and prime ministers. If Trump wanted to show up, you can show up, but we're not breaking protocol. So Trump says we're not allowing South Africa to show up. And it's racist, number one. And that's what it's tinged with, the same way he's attacking Somalians. So we know what's going on there. But also this is just such a disastrous thing, in terms of the United States' foreign policy, right? Like, we know that South Africa, one, as a trading partner is very important. The continent of Africa in general is very important. And we see China making major inroads there. And it's just going to hurt the U.S. in the long run as well. It's going to strengthen the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and other countries now that are joining it. It weakens the United States' position, and it just makes Trump look utterly stupid. So that's what he's focused on right now. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.